Assalamu alaikum, dear scholars. Today's poem is titled as "An Evening Wet with Rain," and this poem is authored by Ved Pal Deep. Ved Pal Deep uh, was an eminent Dogri writer, born in 1929, and he died in 1995. Now, today's poem is actually a very beautiful poem in which poet feels nostalgic. He remembers his childhood and he remembers the person, and he is in need of company because he is feeling very lonely and desolate. The In this poem, the poet actually remembers an evening wet with rain, and it's an atmosphere of complete silence. This poem is a magnetic poem in which the poet talks about an evening wet with rain. And as I told you, it's an atmosphere of complete silence and calmness. The poet sketches numerous images from nature to broaden the effect of silence and loneliness. The poet seems to be depressed, perhaps because of despair that has darkened the evening of his life. And the poet also remembers his childhood, when he stood alone in the courtyard, uh, listening, to the music of cymbal, and he regrets that the days gone by do not return. Now, cymbal is actually a musical instrument, a kind, I can say, kind of a drum that's hit hard by the sticks, and while hitting, it makes certain sounds, a kind of musical sounds. Anyway, coming back to the poem, let me tell you briefly certain points about the poem so that in further lectures you'll understand the poem as easily as you could. Now, the poem, An Evening Wet with Rain, has been written by Ved Pal Deep, and I already told you Ved Pal Deep was an Dogri author, and this poem, especially this evening, An Evening Wet with Rain, is originally written in Dogri language, and this poem has been translated into English by Shivnath. And in this poem, the poet, recollects an evening. He remembers. He's nostalgic. He remembers an evening, wet with rain, and it's an environment of complete quietness. The poet is strolling down. The poet is walking down the path, and everything is wet. And the writer is extremely bleak, extremely sad, and alone. He needs the company of his beloved, whom he remembers. He feels depleted and discouraged, for he has lost all expectation at night of his life. And this evening that has been mentioned in the poem, could be symbolized with the author's old age. Now you do understand the point actually. Now, because of his sorrow, and reserved quality, he can't appreciate the magnificence of nature because he's sorrowful, and when you are sorrowful, nothing seems good to you. The reviving rain, that this reviving new rain that's falling actually right now, cool winds of twist, move of banyan trees, leaves that don't appeal him any longer now, which generally used to charm and excite him in the past. Now the poet just watched quiet, all over the place. He's feeling heavy in his eyes. It could be because of or fever. Moreover, the poet, actually, he feels very nostalgic about his youth, when he used to remain in the courtyard listening to the musical sound of cymbals. In any case, In the meantime, he feels tragic on the grounds, that this song, currently the evening wet with rain, presently has no appeal to engage him. He feels dismal, he feels depressed, he feels disappointed, and for it is outside his ability to control, to get back to great bygone areas, the past areas actually. Nostalgia can be translated that, when memories, the memories of the past, overtake you and let you go back, to the past of your life, and especially when you remember the childhood years and you yearn for it. And I this is the brief about the poem. And tomorrow we'll actually have a thorough explanation of the poem. It's very simple, and in which, usually you will see how poet is remembering the memories of the past, especially his childhood, and how much lonely he is, how much yearning he has actually for the blood, for the company, and how much gloomy, how much bleak, how much sad he feels. Even the rain, the current rain that falls, that used to be very romantic for the poet, especially, that would be enjoyed by the poet. But right now, he's so much sad and gloomy that he doesn't like anything outside. Whatever there is outside, outside reality seems very bleak and dismal to him, because he feels very lonely. Anyway, this is enough for today, and let's wait for the next lecture. Till then, goodbye.